Emma and I have been best friends for 2 decades. So close that we ended up marrying into the same family, the Wilson family. Our father-in-law George never approved of our inseparable bond. Today he decided to teach us a lesson through the oldest power play in the book. Chapter 1. He backhanded Grace across the face twice, the sharp cracks echoing through the dining room. This, his eyes locked with mine, is what happens when women forget their place. I crossed my arms, meeting his glare. Go ahead. Every slap you give her. I nodded at Grace's trembling form. Is one I'll return to your precious Ethan tomorrow. Alice stepped forward, her sweet voice dripping venom. Such urgency for edamame. George? One might think you're racing to your grave. She twirled car keys around her finger. Don't worry, we'll get your precious beans. Wouldn't want you dying unsatisfied. The dining room clock ticked louder in the sudden silence. George's face purpled, veins bulging at his temples. Behind us, Grace's quiet sobs filled the space between his labored breathing and the metallic jingle of Alice's keys. That night, Ethan found me reorganizing the kitchen. Dad says you embarrassed him today. His tie hung loose, reeking of late-night whiskey. I slammed the cabinet door. Your mother's face was swollen like a grapefruit. He caught my wrist. This family has rules. Emma. His grip tightened. You'd do well to learn them. In our bedroom, Alice FaceTimed me holding up 2 tasers. Amazon Prime delivery. She whispered. Next time George wants to play patriarch, the blue arc between electrodes illuminated her grin. Downstairs. Glass shattered. George's drunken roar shook the house. Woman. Where's my damn edamame? Alice and I moved as one. Tasers humming in sync. The grandfather clock struck midnight as we descended the stairs. United against the storm. After saying that, Alice turned and strode out without hesitation. As she walked, she waved cheerfully at the aunties passing by the door, her tone implying she'd spill every detail of what just happened. George's face darkened with rage, gritting his teeth to order Alice back inside. The incident shifted George's fixation from Grace to us. Huddled in the corner, Grace stopped trembling and stole glances at us between timid bites of rice. A tear eventually plopped into her bowl. My chest tightened watching her hunched silhouette contrast with George's blustering rage. Without thinking, I rushed to help George sit on the wobbly stool, secretly relieved when he stumbled backward onto his rear. Alice muttered, "Nice move," under her breath. The following days churned with helpless anger. Seeing gentle Grace scream under George's fists nearly broke our restraint. But as daughters-in-law, we couldn't physically intervene without inviting public scorn. This required Ethan and Aaron's involvement. Sons had the natural right to confront their father's domestic violence. During a casual barbecue night, we recounted George's abuse without mentioning his cruel words, focusing solely on his brutality toward Grace. We expected outrage. Instead, Ethan chuckled while squeezing my shoulder. Dad scared you? I'll tell him to keep his tantrums away from my sweetheart. Exactly. Aaron chimed in. Should have at least been quieter when hitting Mom. Startled you girls. Didn't he? Alice slammed the table. We're talking about your mother being beaten. How can you act like this is normal? I joined her fury. Ethan, we want you to stop the abuse, not hide it. She's your mother. How can you? The brothers exchanged bemused looks. Their nonchalance revealed this horror had been normalized since childhood. We laid down ultimatums: either make your father stop, or we leave. We won't coexist with an abuser. Later, the brothers supposedly confronted George. But according to Alice, who eavesdropped, their talk lasted 3 minutes. Aaron's parting words echoed through the wall. Just hit softer next time. Dad. The girls are being dramatic. But George showed no reaction at all. That was utterly despairing. After all, George excelled at maintaining appearances in front of outsiders, treating Emma and Alice with exaggerated kindness. Aside from his frequent outbursts and invented excuses to beat Grace, The two of us were actually living quite comfortably in the Wilson family. But that wasn't the point. Alice climbed into bed with dark circles under her eyes, collapsing into Emma's arms while sweating and trembling. "Emma," she whispered hoarsely. I had that nightmare again. I dreamed I became Grace, being choked and slapped over and over by George. No one came to help me. No one. I screamed and struggled while our son stood calmly in the doorway watching, still holding the plates of food I'd just cooked them. This life, it's too cruel. Even imagining it suffocates me. But Emma, tears spilled down Alice's cheeks. Grace endured this for over 20 years. 20 years! I can't even comprehend how she survived. Her words cut through me. Growing up in an abusive household myself, I remembered my father beating my mother. My brother and I had thrown ourselves between them countless times until we grew strong enough to fight back. When Dad tried hitting Mom again during my college years, I smashed a bottle over his head while my brother pinned him down, pounding his rage into that wretched man. We'd roared like feral creatures that day, our madness finally instilling enough fear to stop the violence. Domestic abuse left permanent scars on my soul. I thought I'd escaped it, only to marry into another abuser's family. The suffocating familiarity made my lungs seize. But I couldn't show weakness, not when Alice needed strength. "Don't worry," I promised, holding her shaking form. "Just like before. We'll save her. I swear I'll do everything possible." Ethan and Aaron's intervention had forced George to restrain himself temporarily. At least in our presence. He'd stopped openly beating Grace. For this small mercy, Grace overflowed with gratitude. She secretly fried chicken nuggets and potato wedges for our afternoon tea, mimicking KFC recipes to create moments of normalcy. When we invited her to join, she hesitated before declining with a timid smile. "Your father's friends are coming for dinner," she said, wiping flour from her apron. "I need to prepare more dishes. Eat plenty. Girls, come to the kitchen if you want seconds." We followed her downstairs anyway, insisting on helping. After prolonged persuasion, she reluctantly accepted. The three of us worked companionably until George's bellow shattered the peace. "Grace, entertain our guests," he roared from the living room, holding court like a king while ordering her to serve drinks and slice fruits. Grace rushed out with fish blood still coating her hands. George's face purpled with rage when he noticed. "You disgusting fool." He kicked a stool, sending it crashing against the wall. "How dare you touch food with those filthy hands? You're humiliating me. Get out!" The room froze as George advanced, landing a vicious kick when Grace stood paralyzed. "Answer me, you brainless cow." The man cowered like a rat all day, though God knows who he pretended to impress. Can't even wash fruit properly or cook a decent meal. Useless. "Get out of my sight," George roared, his fists already flying. When his temper flared, he never held back, every kick landing with brutal force on Grace's trembling body as she wailed. Trapped in the kitchen by the deafening range hood, Emma and Alice didn't hear the commotion until Grace had already taken several blows. George's drinking buddies offered half-hearted protests, but quickly backed off when his rage turned volcanic. Self-preservation always wins. Their mumbled calm downness evaporated like steam from Alice's frying pan. Emerging with the fish platter, Alice froze at the sight of George straddling Grace, pummeling her with meaty fists. Without thinking, she smashed the porcelain dish over his head. The crash stopped George mid-swing. His bloodshot eyes locked onto Alice with feral intensity. A man who'd beat his wife wouldn't hesitate with newcomers. As the wooden chair swung toward Alice's skull, Emma lunged, her kick deflecting the blow but sending her own head cracking against the tile floor. The sickening thud snapped Alice into action, dragging both women to safety. She spat at George. "I'm calling the cops on you. You bastard. Why don't you pick on those cowardly friends of yours instead? Too scared to hit someone your own size?" Chaos erupted. Emma cradled Grace's battered face. watching blood swirl in the wash basin. The metallic tang transported her to childhood, helplessly watching her mother endure similar beatings. Why? Why do fists always find women? Why do bystanders preach patience to victims? Her tears fell on Grace's medicine-stained hands, reigniting old fury. Enough! Emma surged forward, eyes blazing. No one touches those under Emma's protection. This isn't over. George! Police sirens wailed through the village. When Ethan and Aaron rushed home, they found officers lecturing their father. Ethan's relieved chuckle died at Emma's glare. Your father nearly killed your mother. I'm done with this family. Panic flashed across Ethan's face. Please. Emma. We'll handle this. His desperate kisses on her hands felt like spider legs. Across the room, Grace dabbed ointment on her wounds with robotic precision. The familiar ritual made Emma's stomach churn. Some patterns demanded breaking, no matter the cost. If he ever lays a hand on you again, I swear I'll make him pay. Emma's voice trembled with protective fury. Ethan gripped my shoulders desperately, his eyes glistening. Emma, how can you be so cruel? What did I do wrong? I've never raised my voice at you. Loved you with everything I am. How can you just throw us away? That's your father's sin, not mine. Ethan's voice broke as he bit his lip, raw anguish flashing across his face. Across the room, Aaron wept openly while clinging to Alice, his choked sobs echoing through the house. Alice had just coldly informed him they'd finalize their divorce at City Hall tomorrow morning, no discussion. No second chances. For Aaron, who'd pursued Alice relentlessly for 4 years, this was soul-crushing. He sank to his knees, begging through tears. But why shouldn't she? Hadn't we all been crystal clear from the beginning about our zero tolerance for domestic violence? These Wilson brothers grew up watching their mother get beaten bloody yet did nothing, normalizing brutality as long as fists didn't fly at their wives. You're not innocent, I whispered, cradling Ethan's face to force his gaze toward the shrunken woman curled in the corner. Grace sat motionless, her graying hair matted with dried blood, skeletal frame swimming in threadbare clothes. You knew about the years of abuse. Saw your mother living in hell. Stayed silent because it wasn't your skin getting bruised. My fingers dug into his jaw. She's your mother. Your mother. Alice materialized beside me, her scorn cutting through Ethan's choked protests. Any man who ignores his own mother's suffering will never protect his wife. She wrenched free from Aaron's grasp, heels clicking decisively across the floor. Today you don't hit me because we're newlyweds. Tomorrow because there's still affection. What about next year? Next decade? We moved out that afternoon, taking shell-shocked Grace with us. The Wilson brothers bombarded our phones daily, begging relatives to intervene. But we'd made our choice. There's no shame in divorce, I reassured Grace later as she nervously twisted her apron. Alice squeezed her other hand, our earlier fierceness melting into tenderness. The world's wide open, we could go to Chongqing, Guangdong, anywhere we want. Nowhere's home without family, Grace murmured. Alice kissed her weathered cheek. Home is where we keep each other safe. The unspoken truth hung heavy. Sometimes family isn't blood, but those who finally say enough. Alice reverted to her pre-marital address, declaring, as long as we're breathing, there's always a path forward. We'll simply embrace a different way of living. Not that. Grace interjected earnestly. Won't your parents blame you? Making such life-altering decisions without consulting them? Divorcing on impulse will tarnish your family's reputation. The neighbors will gossip about your parents and siblings. Won't they resent you for this? Her words hung heavy. Clearly long, suppressed concerns finally voiced. Alice and I exchanged glances, understanding the root of her recent anxieties. Truthfully, every consequence she described was inevitable. But should we remain shackled by fear? No. We grasped Grace's calloused hands. our voices steel-edged. Our primary identity is ourselves, not extensions of others. If sacrificing my peace preserves theirs, let their comfort shatter instead. Why should I live for anyone else? I wasn't born to endure suffering but to thrive. This catharsis transformed Grace. She began smiling through her days, meticulously maintaining our apartment, venturing out like neighborhood retirees. First tentative steps clutching homeward instructions, then forming friendships. By her sixth outing, companions awaited her departure. Amid Ethan and Aaron's daily lamentations resembling funeral dirges, we introduced Grace to reputable agencies. Her culinary mastery and meticulous housekeeping made her highly sought after. Soon she became live in help for affluent employers, equally respected by both spouses. During our video call, Grace proudly displayed her boba tea. Miss Emma insisted I try this taro milk tea, costs $15. I told her water's fine. But she's so thoughtful. Her eyes sparkled with quiet triumph. We celebrated that night, toasts to liberating another remarkable woman from confinement, to living authentically. But our revelry proved premature. Mid-sob over childhood traumas, my phone chimed. Grace had sent a 30-second voice message containing George's enraged shouts. A village acquaintance had lured her to a restaurant where George lay in wait. The collaborator lectured about not abandoning family over trifles, ignoring Grace's tearful pleas as they bound her with belts. Arriving home, we found George wielding a hammer, snarling commands to restrain us. The scene crystallized our resolve. Some cages require complete demolition, not mere escape. They say a wife will only behave after being beaten. Ethan and Aaron stood motionless, but the contemplative expressions on their faces chilled everyone to the bone. Grace rose from the floor, spat bloody foam in George's face, and shielded me and Alice defiantly. "Come at me alone, you old bastard," she screamed. "May you rot in hell for all the evil you've done. If we three don't walk out of here today, my clients will call the police and have your whole Wilson family thrown in jail for life." Her sharp tongue left George choking on his rage. "Those two corrupted you," he bellowed, hurling his hammer with a crash that shook the room. "Shameless old hag, prancing around with youngsters instead of minding your own home. Grace, have you forgotten your place?" Grace kicked the overturned coffee table, the impact echoing her defiance. "Shame? I earn my keep. Even strangers appreciate my cooking and cleaning enough to pay me. You worthless leech. You eat my food, sleep on my fresh linens, yet dare criticize? I'd be insane to quit working just to serve your lazy ass." Their confrontation turned physical when George charged, but the new Grace caught his wrists mid-swing, kneeing his groin before raking her nails across his face. His howls of pain mixed with her manic laughter as she beat him with a chair-leg poetic justice for 37 years of abuse. Ethan and Aaron moved to intervene, but Emma and Alice blocked them. Bloodied yet triumphant, Grace trembled with cathartic sobs. "Look, girls, I actually beat George." All these years, her voice broke remembering 3 miscarriages endured while laboring in fields. Decades of submission. Why did no one tell me fighting back was possible? Why did I endure? The Wilson brothers retreated as their father crawled away, his tyranny finally broken by a woman who'd found strength beyond her kitchen. Why? Just tell me why. Pounding her chest, Grace sobbed until she nearly collapsed. Toxic traditions and feudalistic mentalities had both broken and defined her, this living, breathing woman reduced to a punching bag, struggling beneath George's fists time after time only to endure fresh beatings. She existed in numb resignation, embodying the elders' muddle through philosophy so completely that mere survival became her entire reality. No hope. Only emptiness. The raw anguish in Grace's eyes drew tears from us all. The 3 of us clung together weeping, while Ethan and Aaron stood motionless nearby. To these sons carrying their father's violent DNA, our outbursts seemed deranged, crying without reason. embracing through shared grief they couldn't comprehend. Even as their mother recounted years of abuse, their faces showed only irritation. Men. Sons of abusers. Suddenly Grace stopped crying. Her gaze locked onto Ethan and Aaron with terrifying intensity. Ethan. Aaron. I'm divorcing your father. Her voice didn't waver. This isn't a tantrum. It's final. I know you'll try stopping me to save face. But I'm done. Done with George. Done with you two ungrateful brats. Done with this house that makes me wretch. Go rot together. You three bastards. Die alone, that's what you deserve. She spat on Ethan's shoe, then grasped mine and Alice's hands. Together we walked through the Wilson family gates toward the rising sun. In that moment, Grace's soul blazed radiant. Her silver hair fluttered as she turned no longer the Wilson wife, but Grace Thompson, smiling brighter than dawn. Celebrate her freedom. She's finally herself. Epilogue. True to form, Grace moved decisively. We accompanied her twice to the Wilson estate, first for divorce paperwork, then to collect belongings. Ethan and Aaron begged Alice and me to mediate, clinging to childish hopes of reconciliation. Rotating my straw in iced coffee, I studied Ethan across the table. How naive. Oh, Ethan? I interrupted his pleas. Since Grace divorced your father, let's finalize our split too. Me next. Alice popped over from the next booth. We're both done. Ethan blinked slowly, voice cracking. Why? Everything was fine. I refuse. He tried fleeing, but I gripped his arm. It's not a request. We've been over since you kept excusing George beating Grace. I'm sparing us courtroom drama. Sign the papers. Wait out the 30 days. And we're free. Sighing, I acknowledged our inevitable end. A domestic violence enabler and a zero-tolerance advocate were never meant to coexist. Only pain remained. Let yourself go, Ethan. I said to him. Forcing things never ends well. Why are you doing this? Why, ha ha ha, why, as I kept pleading. Ethan suddenly curled his lips into a smirk. Amid his widening grin, he lunged forward and choked my neck. You ask me why? How dare you ask me why? Haven't I treated you well? Haven't I been good to you? 4 years dating. 1 year married, did I ever wrong you? How could you be so heartless? I love you. Emma. I love you. How could you do this to me? How? Answer me. How could you hurt me like this? His grip tightened. Ethan's eyes burned crimson as he ignored everyone's protests, fixated on crushing my throat. Alice completely lost it. She smashed a glass against Ethan's head, screaming and clawing at his hands. But before she could land another hit, Aaron rushed over, grabbed her waist, and threw her onto the couch, demanding to know why she'd followed my nonsense. Both men had gone feral, violently attacking us in public as if laws and bystanders didn't exist. A muscular woman stepped forward, swiftly subduing them with a chokehold and precise strikes. Flashing her badge, she called for backup. Under the crowd's disgusted murmurs, Ethan finally snapped out of it, staring at my trembling figure. Emma, I didn't mean to. The man who'd sworn never to lay hands on me had broken his vow. Kneeling before me, Ethan realized all hope was lost. He'd always claimed he wasn't like his father, the man who'd beaten his mother, yet his first instinct during rage was to choke me, mirroring that very abuse. What more was there to say? Ethan opened his mouth repeatedly, but only choked sobs emerged. Leaning against each other for support, Alice and I watched the Wilson brothers get handcuffed and hauled out of the cafe. Later, George's face darkened considerably upon hearing the news, especially since Alice and I soon divorced the brothers, cutting all ties forever. Under the moonlit sky, Grace dragged us to a barbecue joint. Her cheeks flushed as she raised a beer, "To our freedom." Alice stood up. "Clinking bottles, here's to 3 exceptional women escaping hell. May our lives keep getting brighter. Cheers! Cheers! Cheers!" The night grew colder. Yet warmth bloomed in our chests, a fire called defiance. We marry for happiness. We divorce for happiness. Here's to living unapologetically, fiercely, and free.